Have you been thinking about making a car your entire personality? Well, you're in luck, because today we're talking about the 2013 Jeep Wrangler, and we're going to decide if it's a buy or if it's a bust. That's right, today we are going to take an in-depth look at this Jeep Wrangler, and I am going to try my very best to get everything correct on it, because is there a more sensitive group of vehicle owners out there than Jeep owners? I can't imagine that there is, but I'm going to try my best, but I might still get something wrong, and if I do, put that down in the comments down below and try not to be too angry with me. But nevertheless, we are going to take an in-depth look at this Jeep and talk about the good things, the bad things, reliability issues, and take a walk around and then see if this is a good option for you. Starting up front, you can see that the paint shines pretty nicely on this car. The black plastic you will see fade over time. And the big thing we got to talk about is rust, because we are in the Rust Belt. And Jeeps have been notorious for having rust issues. They've gotten a little bit better throughout the years. This one is pretty clean, I gotta say. But you want to check that out on any of these, especially the frame. Basically anywhere on them, but you want to make sure that you don't get a car that's unsafe to drive. Now, the other big thing on the exterior is seals, especially for the removable hardtop. They leak water on this one, and it's a common problem on other ones. You want to look out for that, because you'll have a wet floor, and it's just overall kind of nasty to deal with. One other thing that I noticed is hinges on the doors. I don't know if on this one that they just haven't been open in the rear a lot, but you can actually see, if we get up close here, to some corrosion on those hinges, and the doors are very hard to open and close. Now, you can take those apart, clean them up. It's not a huge deal, not any reason I wouldn't buy it, but that is a common problem on them. Now, overall styling on the exterior, it's kind of hard to even talk about, because you can't really tell whether this is from World War II or it's a brand new one, 2024, because they all look exactly the same, which is incredible, really, that Jeep has been able to to keep the same design for so many years and people still buy them kind of like hotcakes, which is just a miracle. So good for them, honestly. I have no issues with the styling. There's ones that, you know, they've done minor changes throughout the years, but overall, you can tell a Jeep is a Jeep. Now, under the hood here, we got the 3.6 liter Pentastar that is very popular across Chrysler products. These V6s are kind of tough for me, because they're okay. They're okay engines. The oil filter housing, very commonly cracked, common problem, probably the most common. Valve train issues or noises, pretty common. Cam issues. Those are probably the big issues with this engine. Some oil consumption stuff, some oil leaks from valve cover gaskets, things like that are somewhat common. But they also kind of, you know, if you keep after them, go to like 200,000 miles without really a big issue. So I don't hate them. I don't hate them. Some of the earlier ones had more problems, and they've gotten better throughout the years as well. But it is, you know, it is not a perfect engine by any stretch. They do have good power, 285 horsepower, which is a wild improvement over the 3.8 liter that was in the previous generation of Jeeps, and way more reliable too. The 3.8 had issues. We might do a video on one of those someday. Spoiler alert, it's a bust. But this guy here also has the 5-speed transmission, which is somewhat reliable, but not perfect either. Now, the issue with the Jeep, and it's the kind of the asterisk you have to put on it, is a lot of these are used for off-road and are used hard. So is it, you know, is it use issues, or is it, you know, is it actually like a huge reliability issue? And I think the answer is kind of both. But these are an off-road designed vehicle. They're designed to go off-road and be kind of a sole purpose vehicle. And so it needs to hold up to that. I think the biggest thing, like all cars, is just keep an eye on your maintenance stuff. Do the maintenance on these. It'll definitely help you out in the long run. Now, if you do get check engine lights on these, it could be something major, but your most common ones are evap codes, and that is usually gas cap is a huge one, and then the other one is your evap canister, which is kind of the same across almost all manufacturers. Evap codes, if you get a check engine light, I would say 75% of the time nowadays it's something evap related, not a huge issue. On these, the other one is O2 sensors, pretty common, not a huge deal either, and I really wouldn't, you know, not buy something because of those check engine lights. Now, as we open the driver's door here to check out the interior, you're probably going to hear some clicking going on. Of course, it did not do it this time. Let's see here. Oh. The blend door on these is a very common failure, and basically that just means that it's going to mess with your heat and air and probably allow one to work and not the other. Right now the AC does not work in this one, which was a big deal. Now, it's not the actual AC system itself, and sometimes you can get it to work if you play with the switches, but that's that motor in there clicking trying to switch it to AC, as well as you could have an issue with it going, you know, from feet to defrost or to your upper vents, whatever. But it's a pretty common problem on these. Now, as far as actual interior wear and tear, it's held up decently well. Door panels are in nice shape. Seats do not have any rips in them. The material's in okay shape. You can see some age to them, but okay. Steering wheel has some scratches, but not too bad. Dash is fine, not cracked or anything. And really, it is a very, very basic interior made with cheap materials. Now, sometimes the cheap materials hold up better than ones that are nice. I've seen that across a lot of vehicles, but it's not what I would consider to be a nice, comfortable place to be. It is very, very basic. Now, do you care if the interior is basic when you can take the top off, take your doors off, cruise down the road, kind of like a convertible? I don't know, maybe. You know, day-to-day life, you're probably not going to be driving that way, and I think on a day-to-day, it really actually is a problem. You know, I guess it's just up to your preference. For me, it's a little rough around the edges for a daily driver. And other things that you know you want to definitely look out for, if you don't have heat. Now, we talked about the blend door. That could cause it. It also could be the heater core. They do have a little bit of a tendency to get plugged up. And if it's actually bad, if you have a bad heater core, that is a major thing where the dash basically has to come out. It's a huge, yeah, it's not fun. I don't know if I personally wouldn't buy one because of it, but it's a project for sure. Now, this has a standard Chrysler radio in it. They tend to have some issues as far as like buttons, different things, and just overall reliability. This one works fine, so not a huge deal. They're cheap to replace. I wouldn't really worry about it. Buttons have worn okay, but they're not anything special. We do not have any check engine lights, anything like that, other than a tire pressure sensor. And that is because at this age, pretty much all your TPMS, the sensors inside the wheel on any vehicle of this age, not Jeep's fault, are going to start, the battery's going to start to die. So that's our only light. Otherwise, she's actually running pretty good. Now, the Jeep purists are probably not going to like what I'm about to do right here, and that is open up the rear door. This is a four-door Jeep. You can see how much effort I have to do to get this door open because of those hinges. And I noticed actually then later that the hood hinges are also corroded. So you'll see the little bit of paint and chipping and peeling up on those guys. Now, you can disagree with me all you want. I love the idea of the four-door off-roader. Yes, you're going to get hung up on stuff when you're out on the trail a lot more frequently than with the two-door, but the long wheelbase rides so much nicer and provides a little bit of room that you can actually bring the family. The old two-door Jeeps, backseat was basically unusable. This one you can actually use. It is still a very tight spot. I wouldn't love it for some long road trip, but it does give you the capability to bring people with you a little bit more comfortably and store some stuff behind the seat as well. Otherwise, back here, it is as basic can get, especially in this that has the roll-up windows and everything like that. There is no creature comforts. Like I said before, if you're living your best Jeep life, it's pretty cool to have this type of an SUV setup. If you took the top off, everything like that, cruising down the road, there's something really special about that, and I really am trying to not undervalue that. It's just when you get to that day-to-day life, is it worth it? Now we have reached my favorite part of the review, and that is the road test. Now, Jeeps are not known by any measure for their on-road prowess. they are excellent off-road. I will not deny that. They work really, really well. They've done a lot of work to design them to be pretty much able to go anywhere, and off-road options as far as the aftermarket, if you want to get lifts and all of the things you need for the trail, it is so plentiful. I mean, it is 30 times the next closest competitor, which might be like a, Bronco or something now. But they just have so many options. But if you take them out on the trail and abuse them or do upgrades, that's not really what we're talking about, because you will break them more often then, obviously. That is very reasonable. But as far as day-to-day life, yeah, they just don't handle that great. Now, I reviewed a Hummer H3 recently, and that was the same thing. The on-road manners are just not great. It was also great off-road, but it wasn't great on-road, and this is not great on-road either. They're kind of all over the place. Suspension issues are somewhat common. You're going to have to replace stuff a little bit more commonly, but they are not what I would consider to be a great daily driver. Fuel mileage for an SUV is okay. I would say, get 18, something like that. Actually, I just went in because I looked at it earlier but couldn't quite remember. 18.4 is what the average is on this, which I actually think is quite respectable. And in comparison, power-wise, to the old 3.8, like I said, this is a completely different thing. This does 0 to 60 in the mid 8 seconds, which for an SUV is respectable. No real complaints there as far as power. As far as everything else, though, your steering, brakes, everything, it just feels like an off-road focused SUV and is not refined. That's what I would say. It's not terrible, it's just not refined. Now, the more I'm driving it, the more I'm convinced that the redeeming qualities have to be the off-road capability and the just Jeep life of having the top off, doors off, and driving around in the summer. Like, that is it. Is that enough of a trade-off? I'm not sure. Back from the road test, I'm just about sweated through because of that blend door not working and no AC. But which you might have an experience with too if you buy one of these. But I'm faced with a tough decision, and that is if I want to anger the Jeep fanatics or not. And I think I'm going to have to. I'm declaring it a bust, but with an asterisk of what do you want in a vehicle. If you want a daily driver, it's 100% a bust. It's not reliable enough, it doesn't drive well enough, it doesn't really have any redeeming qualities at all as a daily driver. It's not a good car. That being said, it is a good off-roader, and it's good for what its purpose built to do. And I can't deny that. I mean, you can do so much with these. You can do so much customization. You can add your personality to it. I mean, you could just toss 10,000 rubber ducks in this thing, and another Jeep owner would never even think that that was odd. The rest of us, we think it's a little funny. But the other big issue is cost. Now, if you own one already, you're good, because these things hold their value like crazy. But if you're looking for one, even with high miles and everything, like, they're $10,000. I mean, you can buy some older ones, some beat ones, whatever, that might be a little bit cheaper, but you're going to end up with more reliability issues. But if you want a clean one, they're just not cheap. And there's so many good SUVs out there in the world today. This is not one of them. It's not a good SUV, but it is still pretty fun. Like, it is fun for what it's made to do. I don't like driving a convertible, for example, on a day-to-day life. The interiors, they shake, they rattle. Some are better than others, but they're really not refined. And I kind of put this in that same category of it's only good for what it's built to do and just about nothing else. Now, hopefully I didn't make you too angry there, Jeep fans, but anyone who has one of these or has experience with them or just looking into them, put your thoughts down below. Let me know the common problems you've had. If I missed something, if you think I'm completely wrong, that's okay. But I just want to know your thoughts. So thanks for watching. Unfortunately, today, the Jeep is a bust.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back